What up, guys? This week on our Week 16 NFL preview and picks, I got Ethan with me as always. We got to go into last week's picks, and then we'll jump into Thursday night football and so on. But before we didn't go into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below.
Yeah.
And we said we were gonna pick a winner, and I think I'm gonna pull it up right now, and we're gonna do it right here on the
Oh,
screen. We're gonna do this. All right, and our winner after me doing the spinny wheel thing on my phone is Majestic YouTube. So I'll put his little link in
that's
the description below down below so check him out. So he will be winning a
yeah.
item from our giveaway, and we will put a picture of what he won when we ship that out to him. So if he's watching, hopefully he's watching and he reaches out to us within the next week. By this time next week, if he hasn't reached out, then we'll go through it with a new winner. But we'll jump into our video today.
Of course,
And
yeah.
we got to go talk about last week. Obviously, Ethan, you had a great week. Tennessee didn't help you, and obviously Washington hurt both of us. You got kind of lucky there on the Jacksonville and Vegas picks. Obviously, those were two big wins
Yeah.
for you this week.
Yeah, those were pretty crazy. And I'd say this week 15 slate all the way through from start to finish was one of the best weeks I've ever seen watching football. It was a lot of fun, starting with the San Francisco and Seattle, which no one really remembers. It's really about that biggest comeback in NFL history by the Vikings. Really saved our pick there. And then, Miami, Buffalo. That Saturday was just so full of energy and a great time. So I'm really thankful for that.
And then we will move to our first game this week. And you and me are both going with Jacksonville here. But you got to feel for the Jets, though, losing their last 5 out of 7. Wilson still starting. And, this team really needs a win. I mean, both these teams really need the win to keep their playoff chances alive. But the Jets need it more. They have one of the longest playoff droughts. I think the longest playoff drought in the NFL right now. I think it's 11 years. And if they lose this game, more than likely, they're not officially eliminated, but their chances go from around 20% to probably like 2. And then Jacksonville, they have 6-8 record, only one game back in the AFC South. They played Tennessee last week. So if they can win out, more than likely this team is going to go to the playoffs. And I think they're going to do that. They're going to start that right here this week with a big win on the road against the Jets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Jacksonville, especially news in is Zach Wilson will be starting for the Jets this week. I think that's going to help Jacksonville a lot. They got pressure in the second half on Dak and forced some turnovers, turnover on downs, just let the offense sputter. Trevor Lawrence really is grown into himself this year, and he's looked really, really impressive. And if they can keep stringing along these wins, they have a favorable schedule. Heading into Week 18, they face the Titans, so you never know what happens. I do think the Jags are the better team right now, though.
And then moving over to Saturday, yes, Saturday, Christmas Eve.
Oh,
We
it's gonna
got
be
the
exciting.
Falcons, Ravens. And, originally I was kind of leaning towards the Falcons here because I think Lamar won't play this game. Right now he's trending to not play this game. And Tyler Huntley should, be back in command of this offense yet again. And, well, if they didn't get anything going against the Browns defense, I mean, the Falcons defense is a little worse, but it makes me wonder if this Ravens team can actually get anything going. Duvernay, broke a bone in his foot yesterday at practice. So another receiver goes down. They claim Sammy Watkins after Green Bay let him go. And so right now, everything is going wrong, it seems like, for the Ravens. But I still got to go with the Ravens here because I just feel kind of too foolish to pick the Ravens at home and then not pick them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Ravens as well. Falcons do have a shot to pull off the upset though, with Lamar being out, most likely being out. The Falcons actually looked pretty decent last week. Couldn't throw the ball, but their running offense looked very effective, and I think they could do that this week against Baltimore. Then they would have a good chance of covering at least with this -7 spread.
And then the game you've all been waiting for. Obviously, a lot of Lions fans here on our channel. And you get the Lions who have won 6 out of their last 7, thanks to the exorcism performed by Peyton Manning in the stadium. If you've seen Peyton's places, you know what I'm talking about. And since then, maybe it is the curse. The curse has been lifted potentially. I hope I'm not the jinx here, but that 2.5 is kind of concerning for me because the Lions were favored at home against the Vikings just a few weeks ago, and the Vikings obviously only had 2 losses at the time, but now they're only favored by 2.5 on the road against a 5-9 Carolina team. that could be a tricky one. I do think the Lions will win this game. If they cover, I think it's going to be covering big. I think they'll win by at least 2 possessions. And I think I got to go with the Lions spread as well. I just feel like 2.5 is not enough points.
Yeah, I think maybe a reason why the spread is so low. I saw a stat, or I heard about a stat, that Jared Goff last week just threw his second outdoor touchdown pass of the season. So that's something that you could look for as Carolina, some hope for Carolina. But Detroit's just been playing good football. The defense has really stepped up, allowing just very little fantasy points to running backs. I know that for a fact recently. So that means they're stopping the run. So Detroit, I think they're going to win it, and I think they should cover as well. But hey, you never know.
And another game with the Bills playing in snowy conditions, because more than likely it's going to be a snowstorm in this one. We're projected where we are at right now, almost 2 feet of snow in the Chicago, Michigan, Detroit area. Going to get hit with snow, a lot of snow, and Buffalo thrives in this environment, as you saw last weekend. So give me the Bills here I think they do cover that at least by 10 in this one. But Josh Allen, maybe he doesn't have to, be his normal Josh Allen throw for 4 touchdown self in this one. Just because, the Bills defense can step up and I think stop Fields, maintain him from really scrambling all around and doing whatnot. Yeah, and the Bills, well, they got all their weapons still healthy. Dawson Knox has finally came on, and it just seems like this team is slowly getting better and better each week.
Yeah, I do think the Bills will win this game. They did give up a lot of rushing yards to Miami last week, which is something to watch out for with the Bears rushing attack, obviously with Justin Fields. So if the Bears can find a consistent run game, I think it's a possibility that they pull off the upset, because the Bills, all they need to do is get a win to clinch the division. So I think it's possible they're on upset alert here in Chicago. They have been playing better football as of late. Just a non-risky pick. I'm going to go with the Bills here.
Our first disagreement of the week comes at the helm of the Saints and the Browns. And this one for me is I just hope the Browns just don't do good with Deshaun Watson. And, everyone's anticipating, Watson's going to lead this team to a playoffs as soon as he gets back and blah, 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 the false narrative. No, that's not happening. It's ending this week. While the Saints, on the other hand, still have a shot at the playoffs. Yes, you are looking at that correct. Their record is 5-9. And they win out, essentially, they are going to be the NFC South champions. If they can, they have Tampa left, and Tampa's the winner of the division right now by 1 game. They get that win, then you never know what can happen here in this NFC South.
Definitely a crazy division. Although it is supposed to be very, very snowy. It's supposed to be an ice bowl in Cleveland this week. And if Nick Chubb plays, this depends on if Nick Chubb plays. I think that the Browns will run all over the Saints this weekend. And yeah, Andy Dalton in cold weather has not been good this year. So give me the Browns.
And then you have the Chiefs and Seahawks. And Lions fans, you're really needing the Chiefs win here, and I think you're going to get it. Mahomes is going to come out and put up his typical MVP number game stat line, at least 2-3 total touchdowns. Kelsey's going to have a big day. And the Seahawks, well, they're reeling. We thought this team was going to be a contender halfway through the season, and they turned out to be a pretender at this point in the season. If they get this loss dropped to 7-8, they have a tough hill ahead of them moving forward, and I don't like their chances, so I got to go with the Chiefs here, home at Arrowhead.
Yeah, definitely. It's supposed to be snowing again all over the United States. It's supposed to get crazy snow, so that's going to affect the game a little bit. However, I don't think it'll hurt the Chiefs too much. I think they can run the ball, as Patrick Mahomes will still be able to throw it a little bit in the conditions. Kenneth Walker, though, should have a big game. So if you're in your fantasy semifinals right now, you have Kenneth Walker. He's a start. But yeah, the Chiefs should definitely win. Also, you should start Jerick McKinnon. Obviously 2 straight 30+ point games. And then Pacheco as well. If it's really snowy, I think the Chiefs will get the run game going, and Pacheco will have a nice game.
And then a big game for both of these teams. The Giants looking to keep their spot in the playoffs, and the Vikings, well, looking to stay in the 2 seed in the NFC. And if things ended right now, the Vikings would be playing the Commanders and so on and so forth. And I think the Vikings are going to get a much needed win to stay in that 2 spot in the NFC. And that's going to, hurt the Giants' chances of making the playoffs. I think they're still very good after beating the Commanders last week. But the Vikings, have proven to me just in last week's game that they were down 33-0 at half, and they scored 33, like 10, 10,
Yeah,
15 minutes, it felt like it just kept coming. And, that showed resilience out of this team. I think it woke up a lot of people as well. A lot of people were thinking this team was frauds. And, for that first half, I thought, oh, they're biggest frauds in the NFL right now. But they
it,
came back, showed us that they aren't. And moving forward, this team is going to have to be able to play better at all times so things like that don't happen, especially come playoff time.
yeah, definitely. I think they might start a little slow this week, coming off of that big offensive disruption or eruption, I should say. New York, they played some good football last week. However, if you were watching the game, in my opinion, I think the Commanders still should have won the game because Brian Robinson's game tying touchdown called back, and then the obvious pass interference, which would have made it 1st and goal. So that hurt. That hurt a little bit for us Washington picks, our picks there. But New York still played a solid football game. I think they should be a playoff contender. They obviously are at 8-5-1. So this will be a close one, but I do think the Vikings will pull through. They're 10-0 in 1-score games this season. So I think it might be that type of game. And if I'm a betting man, I might go with the Giants spread here. I might cover.
In a game big for the Bengals more than the Patriots, I think. The Bengals, if they get this win and somehow the Ravens lose, then they are going to be almost all but certainly AFC North champions. I'm not 100% sure if that's correct, if that can happen this week. But if it doesn't, this team pretty much is almost a lock for the AFC North. And I think they're going to go on the road and get a big win against the Patriots that have a top 5 defense in the league right now. And obviously, we can't not talk about the Patriots after last week's blunder of a game. This team could be sitting here at 8-6 and potentially, really riding high and coming in if they get a win here, essentially clinch a spot in the playoffs. It feels like with a big win here with only 3 weeks to go. But that's not what happened. And now they got to face reality. And here you go. You get Joe Burrow and all his weapons coming into town in a must-win game.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. This is going to be one of the better games of the slate. Obviously, with the Bengals, this very, very many playoff scenarios here. If the Patriots lose this, they're theoretically almost out of the playoffs unless they win out after this. They're almost out of the playoffs, and they got teams like the Jets and the Dolphins and the Chargers that are all fighting for the same spot. So it's going to be a tall task. I do think the Patriots will be up for the challenge this week, but it's hard to bet against these Bengals right now. They've just been playing way too good of football. Joe Burrow in the second half threw 4 touchdowns last week against a tough Buccaneers defense. So yeah, I can't pick against the Bengals right now. There's just no way.
And then you have a game where Derrick Henry should absolutely dominate the Texans. The last game they played, Derrick Henry was almost 200 total yards, 2 touchdowns. And I think it's a lock yet again. With Tannehill most likely done for the season, Malik Willis in there, I think they will air it out a little bit if they do have a decent lead. But first, they got to give it to Derrick Henry and let him just dominate. I think the last 5 games he's played, he's had at least 2 touchdowns and over 150 yards, I believe, in all of those games. And I don't see why he won't. He owns the Texans on the ground. And because of him, they are going to not only cover that spread, but I think at least triple it. I think this is going to be a blowout. And, just because Tannehill isn't playing doesn't mean Malik Willis can't step in there and sling that rock around.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I think this is going to be a close game. I was actually thinking about taking the Texans as an upset this week, even though it's not much of an upset at this point, only 3-point dogs here this week. The Titans just have not been playing good football, losers of 4 straight games. And the Texans have been close with the Cowboys and the Chiefs. So I think if this is where they get a win, I think this is where they'll get it. But your point with Derrick Henry is very true. Derrick Henry just runs all over the Texans. So that's why I'm going to take the Titans in this game. It's just because of Derrick Henry. But there is a world where the Texans can win this game, and I would not be too shocked.
Moving to the 4 o'clock slate, you got the Commanders going on the road to the Niners, and the Niners are hot right now. Brock Purdy is looking great. McCaffrey, almost an MVP candidate if it wasn't going to go to a quarterback every year, and so on and so forth. And they don't even have Debo more than likely this game too. So you got to flip the script and look at the Commanders. Obviously, we mentioned it earlier. They come off a tough loss on 2 straight plays where they got robbed, so on
Hmm.
and so forth. But you got to rebound and rebound quickly against the probably biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC right now in these Niners. And with that being said, I think the defense is going to be too much for Heineke in that offense because they love to ground and pound first and then beat you over the top. But that's going to be tough to do when you're playing from behind.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think Commanders stand much of a chance here. Washington has a great running game, and I think they can make this thing interesting for a while. But like these two teams have kind of the same style of play. I just think the Niners, obviously with McCaffrey, are going to have a lot more weapons on that offensive side, and that defense is just scary. I would not want to be playing against that defense right now. I just think the Niners are too good. I'm gonna take the Niners here.
And then the biggest game of the week for playoff implications right here. You got the Eagles, more than likely without Jalen Hurts. It's trending towards he's missing the game. It's not official yet. And then you got the Cowboys at home needing that win to stay alive in NFC North or NFC, why am I NFC East playoff, NFC East division here. And both these teams have already clinched a playoff spot. So they're not worried about, making the playoffs or whatnot. This is just more on seeding. Cowboys more than likely are, not really playing for the NFC East Championship. I think right now they're playing just to beat the Eagles because, they lost to this team earlier in the season without Dak. And they got to come off of last week's loss. And I just think this team is kind of folding under pressure as of late. And we saw it last year with this same old Cowboys team make the playoffs, win the division, and then struggle at home. And if Dallas is a wild card team and they got to go to San Francisco this year, it's all wraps. And I think they might find themselves in a position to do so. So I got to go with the Eagles here. And I think the Cowboys are just going to keep on nosediving down.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I think the Eagles could definitely win this game, even without Jalen Hurts. I think if they put in Gardner Minshew this week, I think he's going to have a big game, and definitely could see the Eagles winning this game. Just the better overall team. But I got to take Dallas at home in desperation mode here. Still basically going to make the playoffs. However, still possible they don't make the playoffs. So you never know. Although they definitely should make the playoffs. And they will basically, I think they clinch a playoff berth with a win here, being an 11-win team, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I just think the Cowboys are going to pound the rock this week and try not to give up a big lead like they did last week in Jacksonville.
And then the big game to wrap up Christmas Eve, which more than likely could possibly end on Christmas morning. So Santa might be flying over in this one. But you got the Steelers at home going against the Raiders, 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. And, well, obviously it's very sad news that, today Franco Harris passed away and they were going to retire his number in the rafters. And I did think the Steelers were going to win this one just because, the ceremonies, the celebration, all the fun stuff that was planned. But now it's going to be more of a celebrating Franco Harris's life and what he meant to the Steelers organization. And Kenny Pickett, also to mention, is trending like he is going to be the starter this week. So they get back their starting quarterback. And it's a must-win for these Steelers if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive and keep Mike Tomlin's winning streak alive as well for never having a losing season. And I think they keep it alive one more week here against the Raiders.
Definitely sad about Franco Harris. Rest in peace, man. He meant a lot to the organization. I think all the fans in the stadium it's going to be a crazy night. Wish I was there. This would be the game I'd want to be at. It'd be a lot of fun, but definitely Pittsburgh. The Raiders don't know what they're getting into going into that crowd on Saturday night, and Steelers with Kenny Pickett, like he said, they should be back. I think the Steelers are going to win big here. Devontae Adams should have a big game though, because the cornerbacks have not been looking good. So Devontae Adams and the Raiders offense could get moving, but I think the Steelers should win it here.
Then moving to Christmas Day, we have my Packers kicking off at 1:00. And, this is a must win for my Pack. Got to win out and have a few things happen if they want to make the playoffs. So I got to take them here. They're only favored by 4. Miami is, which is kind of surprising to me. I thought it would be a little more, but they're still giving respect to Aaron Rodgers and his crew. And after last week's showing, this team does have a little fight left in them. A.J. Dillon had his best game of the year. And, Watson and Dobbs fully healthy, playing together. evolved and looking like two young stars in the making, you could say, with Rodgers at the helm. But then you got the Dolphins coming off a tough loss last week in Buffalo, a game they almost should have won, it felt like at times. But I got to ride my Packers out here until they're officially eliminated. And then, if that's the case, then maybe I might pick against my favorite team, but that's going to be even tough to do.
Yeah, Miami really impressed me last week. Just with the way they could run the ball and be physical against this pack or against the Bills. So I think if they can run the ball and be physical against this Green Bay team, then a lot of success should come their way. With them not being a very physical defense. Sorry about that, man. But
Stay
yeah,
bashing my Packers.
I'm sorry. I got to take the Dolphins here though, with playoff implications and playoff hopes. I just can't see the Dolphins missing the playoffs this year. So they're going to get the win.
And then at 4:30, you have unfortunately probably the worst game you could have had
My
on
goodness.
Christmas. And we're not going to give this one much time because the Broncos and Rams are pretty much playing for draft picks at this time. So I assume this will either be a really high scoring game and close or really low scoring and close. But I got to go with Denver. Russ is expected to play. Russ versus Baker in a dome stadium. Got to go with Russ.
Yeah, it's not close. If Russ plays, the Broncos should definitely win. I hope they can get rolling and not embarrass himself too much this season.
Then 8:20, a big game for these Bucks as they look to keep that one game lead in the NFC South. And I think they will. I think they're going to go on the road to face Arizona and face Trace McSorley or David Blau if McSorley goes down. Those are the
I
only
believe
two
it's McSorley.
quarterbacks. That's all they got left on the starting roster this week. So if that's the case, then I mean, how can I pick against Brady in this situation? They have struggled lately. Obviously last week blowing that huge lead, 17 points. Brady's first time losing at home. He was 89-0 when leading by 17 or more. So that's his first loss, and it just doesn't seem like it's the same old Brady. But right now, this is where the Patriots Brady would win 3 in a row and sneak in the playoffs, and then they're gonna find their way in the NFC Championship at one point. So I feel like that could be brewing here. They're gonna get at least one home playoff game if they win their division, and it's trending towards that way.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun if the Panthers or like the Falcons or the Saints made the playoffs. But then again, it might just be a blowout and be no fun at all. So I do think if Tom Brady makes the playoffs, he'll make it interesting, and I think they'll do it. It'll make a big step to doing that in this game. Should not be close necessarily, even though I'm pretty sure it will be close, just because of the way they've been playing this year. Buccaneers should definitely win this game, and if they don't, then they got some problems for sure.
To wrap up our video, we have the Chargers going on the road to face the Colts. The Colts obviously blowing that huge lead. Everyone knows about that by now. Probably the worst loss in NFL history. Then you got the Chargers coming in off of 2 very good wins, and especially the Titans win last week after the Titans are struggling. This Chargers team, I think right now is in a position to be kind of like last year's Bengals, it feels like. Be the sleeper team that gets in the playoffs and not runs the table, but has that something to them. I mean, they got fully healthy team now. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Eckler's obviously doing great. And they even have some backup running back performing well as well too. And then this defense has stepped up well in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, that's why they're getting these big wins. And then I think they're going to go into Indy, go to 9-6, and almost lock up a playoff spot with 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, that'd be huge. A win here would make the Chargers' chances go to make the playoffs go very extremely up. I think they're going to do it this week. The Colts, man, that was ugly in the second half there against the Vikings. However, I mean, Colts at home this week, I could see an upset brewing here in the first half at least. I mean, Herbert didn't even throw a touchdown pass last week, so that's the type of game that the Chargers can get. Just the way they're kind of inconsistent a little bit, but I do agree if they get hot, there's not many teams that can beat them. But that's about it. That's my thoughts on the game.
And that's going to be it for this week's video. Yeah, we changed the background. We got the Cleveland Clowns. We don't like the Browns around here in these parts, so kind of throwing some shade there. But it's going to be it for our video. Make sure you guys come back next week, see how we did on our picks, and to see, how close hopefully I am after this week. And then to see next week's picks with only 2 weeks to go. But, always hit that subscribe button. Gets to now 500, and we'll be doing an even bigger and better giveaway. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.